Joined now by Jonathan Greenblatt. He's the CEO and National Director of the Anti-Defamation League. Mr. Greenblatt, welcome to Meet the Press. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances. I want to get you to react to something the president said, because according to your organization, this is likely the deadliest attack on the Jewish community, perhaps in the history of the United States. Here's the president yesterday in Indianapolis.
This was an anti-Semitic act. You wouldn't think this would be possible in this day and age, but we just don't seem to learn from the past.
It's that last sentence I'm curious for you to react to. He said you wouldn't think this would be possible in this day and age. Is he right?
Well, unfortunately, he's wrong on that. I mean, at the ADL, we've been tracking anti-Semitism for over 100 years. We look at anti-Semitic incidents, and in 2017, Chuck, we saw a 57% surge of acts of harassment, vandalism, and violence directed at the Jewish community across the country. It was the single largest spike we have ever seen. And literally just last week, we released a report because we also monitor anti-Semitism online.
Right.
And we've seen a marked uptick in anti-Semitic harassment of political figures and other individuals simply based on their faith. So we are living in a moment where anti-Semitism is almost becoming normalized, and that should shock and move all of us to act.
Well, you say it's normalized. There was a time in this country it was normalized. Trust me, my mother reminds me of it quite a bit in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. It went away after a while. What's your explanation as to the re-rise of this?
Well, yeah, I think it's worth pointing out. I don't know that it ever went away. I mean, the ADL worked to fight it in the 40s and 50s and 60s.
Right.
And today we are seeing this resurgence. I think there were a few factors. So number one, we are seeing an environment in which anti-Semitism has moved from the margins into the mainstream as political candidates and people in public life now literally repeat the rhetoric of white supremacists. And they think it's normal and permissible to talk about Jewish conspiracies, manipulating events, or Jewish financiers somehow controlling activities. And that is awful. And secondly, not only is the political environment contributing to this, social media is amplifying and accelerating it in shocking ways. And so Silicon Valley is a part of the problem and needs to be a part of the solution.
I hear you on social media. What about in the political world? You talked about financiers. George Soros is a Democratic donor, and he frequently is always described, his religion is always included in the description. Other billionaires, their religion isn't always included in their description when they contribute to candidates. What would you say to that?
Look, the attacks on George Soros are appalling. And the continued invocation of classic anti-Semitic themes. I mean, to see the way this man is mischaracterized online is just repulsive. Now, I don't agree with every donation he makes, but I also don't agree with every donation Sheldon Adelson makes. But you see it from the left and sometimes from the right, and it is all incredibly troublesome. So I think whether you are, an elected official bringing a Holocaust denier to the well of the House of Representatives for the State of the Union, or you are a political candidate, again, invoking anti-Semitic myths about Jewish conspiracies, or frankly, you're a religious leader who calls Jews termites.
I was just going to ask you about Louis Farrakhan and the tolerance that some people on the left still have for him.
No. Yeah, this isn't an issue of left-right. It's about right and wrong. And we should be able to speak truth to power whenever people in public life speak out with stereotypes and scapegoats that we know, as you were alluding to before, have been used for hundreds and thousands of years, not just to slander the Jewish people, but to wound them and kill them. So, like you said at the top of the show, this was the single deadliest attack on the American Jewish community in our history. And it's incumbent upon us to stand up and to speak out and to say, we will not accept this, not for another minute.
All right. What could the president do in a perfect world?
Well, whether you're the president of the United States or the president of a university or the president of your PTA, I would expect leaders to lead. We would hope, and we should all demand, that those in elected office won't just give platitudes after the fact, but they will help ratchet back the rhetoric right now. And they will, if the white supremacists are saying and celebrating what you're doing, that should be a problem for all of us. So I'd like to see him and other electeds across the aisle stand up and shut it down now.
Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL, thanks for coming on and sharing your views. And I'm sorry for the circumstances with which we had to invite you on.
Thank you.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.